RMS Titanic was a British passenger liner that sank in the North Atlantic Ocean in the early hours of April 15, 1912, after colliding with an iceberg during her maiden voyage from Southampton to New York City. There were an estimated 2,224 passengers and crew aboard, and more than 1,500 died, making it one of the deadliest commercial peacetime maritime disasters in modern history. RMS Titanic was the largest ship afloat at the time she entered service and was the second of 3 Olympic-class ocean liners operated by the White Star Line. She was built by the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast. Thomas Andrews, her architect, died in the disaster. Titanic was under the command of Captain Edward Smith, who also went down with the ship. The ocean liner carried some of the wealthiest people in the world, as well as hundreds of emigrants from Great Britain and Ireland, Scandinavia and elsewhere throughout Europe who were seeking a new life in the United States. The first-class accommodation was designed to be the pinnacle of comfort and luxury, with an onboard gymnasium, swimming pool, libraries, high-class restaurants and opulent cabins. A high-powered radio telegraph transmitter was available for sending passenger marconigrams and for the ship's operational use. Although Titanic had advanced safety features such as watertight compartments and remotely activated watertight doors, Titanic only carried enough lifeboats for 1,178 people, about half the number on board, and 1/3 of her total capacity, due to outdated maritime safety regulations. The ship carried 16 lifeboat davits which could lower 3 lifeboats each, for a total of 48 boats. However, Titanic carried only a total of 20 lifeboats, 4 of which were collapsible and proved hard to launch during the sinking.
After leaving Southampton on 10 April 1912, Titanic called at Cherbourg in France and Queenstown now Cobb in Ireland before heading west to New York. On 14 April, 4 days into the crossing and about 375 miles 600 km south of Newfoundland, she hit an iceberg at 11:40 p.m. ship's time. The collision caused the hull plates to buckle inwards along her starboard right side and opened 5 of her 16 watertight compartments to the sea. She could only survive for flooding. Meanwhile, passengers and some crew members were evacuated in lifeboats, many of which were launched only partially loaded. A disproportionate number of men were left aboard because of a women and children first protocol for loading lifeboats. At 2:20 a.m., she broke apart and foundered with well over 1,000 people still aboard. Just under 2 hours after Titanic sank, the Cunard liner RMS Carpathia arrived and brought aboard an estimated 705 survivors. The disaster was met with worldwide shock and outrage at the huge loss of life and the regulatory and operational failures that led to it. Public inquiries in Britain and the United States led to major improvements in maritime safety. One of their most important legacies was the establishment in 1914 of the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea (SOLAS), which still governs maritime safety today. Additionally, several new wireless regulations were passed around the world in an effort to learn from the many missteps in wireless communications which could have saved many more passengers. The wreck of Titanic was discovered in 1985, more than 70 years after the disaster, and remains on the seabed. The ship was split into and is gradually disintegrating at a depth of 12,415 feet 3,784 m. Thousands of artifacts have been recovered and displayed at museums around the world. Titanic has become one of the most famous ships in history. Her memory is kept alive by numerous works of popular culture, including books, folk songs, films, exhibits, and memorials. Titanic is the second largest ocean liner wreck in the world, only beaten by her sister HMHS Britannic, the largest ever sunk, although she holds the record as the largest sunk while actually in service as a liner due to Britannic being used as a hospital ship at the time of her sinking. The final survivor of the sinking, Milvina Dean, aged 2 months at the time, died in 2009 at the age of 90.